Now in our 6th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey, hey everybody, this is Alex Bennett. This is the Ramble. We go until midnight tonight. Midnight, yes, Eastern Daylight Time. Ladies and gentlemen, the face before you is a face I don't think I've seen your face for how long now?
Well, in person, over a decade, I think, considerably.
Yeah.
But, we've seen video of one another. We know what we look like generally.
Kind of, yeah. Because all the stuff we've been doing with the movie reviews has been, on audio. So
that's because I generally do it in the nude.
Yeah, right. Anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about, now what I wanted to do a segment with you on, is since you're our resident movie reviewer, is the future of movies. I mean, I think if any business has been profoundly affected by the coronavirus, it's been the entertainment business.
Profoundly is a loose, but probably fairly accurate way of putting it, because we know there have been massive changes done in terms of distribution because of theaters closing down. They've shut down production. And in terms of changing the way the business operates, right now there are a lot of protocols that are being put into effect. I know a friend of mine here in LA was hired to be basically in charge of making certain that people on television in studio sets basically abide by all the dictates that are being laid down for safety purposes. So that's an entirely new job that's been created by this nightmare. So they are intending to go back to work, and in a lot of cases, they've gone back to work to produce things. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the latest Marvel Cinematic Universe TV series, went back into production in Eastern Europe. There have been a few shows and movies that have gone back into production. There have been people that have done movies and television programs and web shows that are purely done via Zoom. People have done a lot of very intimate solo or two-handers that could be done safely. So stuff is being made. But your point, and they've made it on our segment, Culture Blast, is that theaters are going to have a very difficult time reopening considering what's going on. And what's also happening concurrent to the difficulty is people are now becoming accustomed to watching stuff at home. And again, we joke about this, and we've done so for a while here on GabNet. You would just as soon see a first-run film in your home, period. The cost of going to a theater, the tickets, snacks are outrageously expensive, parking, transpo. If you bring more than your wife or your husband or your lover or your pal, if you bring the kids, it's literally over $100 to go see a movie. When I was a boy, they let you in for free and they gave you free popcorn.
Well, you were under 12 years old. You got in for free. I remember that.
Well, that's true. I mean, I was being, flippant, but yeah, it's true. So in a lot of ways, yeah, there are changes afoot. And one of the things that streaming television has done has been to offer access platforms for a lot of new material. The question is, are they going to be able to crank out new material under these protocols? And they're trying. But you're very, very right about the future of movies. And you were right, 10 years ago when you said you preferred watching at home. It's just easier. Does this mean we're going to end up like those humans in WALL-E, in our chairs and blobbed out, just getting bit information? It's already happening.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's what they call the quarantine 15. That's the 15 pounds you gain just from being in quarantine.
Right.
You know. Well, I mean, it to begin with, I think the movie theaters are going to be the most heavily impacted at this
Right.
point because they've been by their very greed over the years, they have made themselves antiquated. In other words, when I started adding up, as you said, all the money it cost me to go to a movie with Marjorie, between the cab fare, the ticket prices, which are about $42 for two seniors watching a 3D film, okay?
Ridiculous.
The popcorn, which comes to at least $15, and the box of popcorn, the box itself probably costs more than the popcorn to make, okay? Outlandish prices that way. By the time I'm through, it costs me $75, $85 to just go see a movie, which then turns out to be crap.
Well, you're not listening to my reviews. Taking you away from the
listen,
bad ones.
you don't mind taking a chance on a film for the whole family, four of you sitting there perhaps on the average, for $20, because if it's not any good, it's only $20. But if it's $100 and it still stinks, you know.
You could also at home turn it off, take a little time, go to the John, just do whatever you need to do. But the other thing that's happened is over the past 15 years, long form storytelling on television, particularly as it relates to streaming services, has become phenomenal. We're in a golden age of video, or a golden age of narrative storytelling when it comes to serial stories.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with you on that. I think that if you go over to Netflix, you've got to weed through a lot of crap.
Oh yeah.
Turkish soap operas, things like that. In fact, they have a whole category now there of Turkish TV.
No,
look, in order to get a lot of stuff on there, Netflix has backed any number of productions around the world that suck. I found.
Look, that's why I'm around. I watch as much as I can and talk about it, but be judicious, and also the other thing about that is 20 minutes in, unless someone like me is saying, give it a couple episodes, and sometimes you really want people to give it a couple episodes. Yeah. 20 minutes in, you generally know this is crap and you turn it off.
But tell me you don't like to watch a 2-hour film where the story is complete from beginning to end.
I do, but I also, when I come across something as profound, to use your word again, and as engaging as something like Dark, which is to me a high watermark in science fiction storytelling, at least one of my favorite.
I don't even know of this show.
Dark is the German science fiction show that is, in fact, it was at first glance kind of a German knockoff of Stranger Things. At first glance, meaning the first episode, it is in no way, shape, or form that knockoff of Stranger Things. It becomes something that is entirely complex and wonderful. You have to actually, this is so stupid, you have to keep a concordance of characters. I mean, I'm not a dumb guy, and I'm like binging each season. But if I didn't have a concordance of characters to something I could open up from Wikipedia, I would have been like, who the hell is that? Because it's that complex. And I don't mean this to scare anyone away, but it's an amazing.
You've already scared me away.
No. And when we first started watching it, we watched it very much when it dropped initially about 4 years ago, the first season. And for some reason, I was with some friends and we had kind of a little TV club where we got together to watch television programs and particularly British procedurals and what have you. So we see this thing Dark. We've loved Stranger Things. This is like right after Stranger Things first season. And they said, well, this is the German Stranger Things. And we were like, yeah, okay, well, we'll check it out. And so we began watching it. And my friend refused to turn on the original German audio and instead used subtitles, used dubbing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, we got to watch it with subs. And it was a little disconcerting, kind of like the Japanese monster movie.
I'll tell you, though, I got to tell you.
Godzilla.
When there's an argument about, we even watch British shows now with subtitles.
Oh, well, sure.
Yeah, but the fact is that what I did with Babylon Berlin, which was I watched it first with subtitles, and I went, I don't know, it's just too much. It's going to begin with. German is a terse language, so that they go by faster. Okay, so I decided to just watch it with the dubbed, and it was fine. It was good. The dubbing, I got into the plot. I understood it. You know, it was much clearer to me. Because when you're spending so much time having to read subtitles, it takes you away from just what's happening on the screen.
Okay, so you will be one of those people I'll say, watch Dark with the dub. But honestly, it is so good. And once you get into it, and again, it's a case where you're watching the first episode and you're going like, but there are things out there.
But this is not really the subject we're talking about.
No, but I'm just saying, narrative television has exploded in a big way thanks to streaming services, and those streaming services are for you and a lot of other people the way they can watch a feature film.
Yeah, I think you're right on something, and it's something I've said is people are getting used to watching their movies at home more than going to a theater, and because they've gotten used to that, they're probably never going back to the theaters. Okay, and the theaters aren't going to open that fast. You know, I mean, of all the places you could go and get coronavirus, it's a movie theater.
Well, it's the one place you can go and get the coronavirus while you're enjoying a big bag of popcorn.
Yeah, and that makes it almost worth it.
Almost. I'm telling you, I am, I'm reluctant to be in crowds. Much of my career has been spent in screening rooms and in movie theaters, and I continue to try to stay abreast of what's new in that regard and cover it. But it's kind of, it's crazy. I mean, even the screening rooms that I go to, they're not enormous, generally speaking. Mm-hmm. If it's a popular movie that people want to see, every seat is filled, and there's no way in hell I'm going to be sitting in a room full of breathers. I'm not. Yeah. I won't do it.
For instance, let's take a company like Disney. Disney has probably been the most hit of all the corporations in the country because they make movies indoors. They do a lot of other things which have actually stifled their profits. They're theme parks, movies, and so on. The only thing that's going good for them is Disney Plus, where they've got, I read 54 million subscribers so far, and that's given them some income. But the rest of it is, Now, here's my question to you. For instance, let's take one picture. The James Bond picture was changed from, I think it was March when it was supposed to be released, and they said we're moving it to Thanksgiving, figuring the whole thing will be over by then. It's not going to be over by then. Okay?
Probably not.
No, people are not going to feel comfortable going back to movies. Do you think they're going to take a chance on that one and put it in streaming?
I really, the quote-unquote James Bond experience is generally a widescreen immersive experience because of all the visuals and all the set pieces and all the action. People love to be in the middle of it. The sex scenes, such as they are. They may push it. I think Wonder Woman 84 is, I think it's already been pushed to spring, right?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Warner's has pushed that to, I think, next year. I could be wrong. There's going to be a point where they have to basically do something. They can't just sit on these things over. I mean, the profit margins notwithstanding, they just can't sit on these things for very long in terms of just economics.
Shelf life and economics. The thing I see Disney doing is they're taking features and rather than putting them on streaming, they've actually put them on Disney Plus. I think Hamilton was supposed to be a theatrical release, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
Yeah, the whole opening and everything is a Disney opening and so on. There was another film of theirs that I recently...
Oh, Artemis Fowl.
Well, Artemis Fowl will probably work better for them being on Disney Plus. There's one other film I'm trying to think of now where they also did it on Disney Plus. So maybe a lot of Disney stuff is going to come out on Disney Plus. The question,
Mulan has been held. They were going to do. That's the one that was going to be before James Bond, and it never happened. And they kept moving forward.
So it's a question of how long they're going to hold on to these films before they say we can't wait any longer. I mean, they had a thing called Trolls. What was that movie? Trolls.
Yeah, Trolls World Tour.
World Tour.
Second Trolls.
They went direct to streaming on that because they couldn't go into the theaters. They were going to open in the theaters, but they went to streaming. They said they wound up making more money in streaming than they would ever made in the theaters.
Well, I don't know that was an anomaly, but that was certainly a first in a lot of ways. Look, as you know, I work in the animation business, and I have, I don't want to go into detail about it, but I have a deal with a major studio, and it was something that was optioned, and it doesn't require anybody to be on a set to make these things.
Right.
And they do have the movie that was before it in the pipeline of this division of the studio's animation division.
Mm-hmm.
They hope for a summer release starting in Asia, and I have been following the IMDb and the trades, and it seems like they've pushed that to November, and so that movie is now supposed to have an American release in November. It's animated. There are lots of video platforms depending upon the circumstances, and considering that the family-oriented Trolls movie did so well on streaming, I'm hoping, I don't care if it's in a movie theater or not, I just want it to get out there so they move on to the next project.
Yeah.
It's possible in November, the movie ahead of the one that I've been involved with is going to get released, and probably via streaming services.
Well, let me ask you this, one last question before I let you go. Because we've gone longer than I expected we would, but the subject is one we could talk about for hours,
It's fruitful.
How's this affected you as a reviewer?
Well, in a normal week, I see about 7 movies. It's an average. 7 movies in a screening room or at a promoted screening in the evenings. AMC, Century City, or whatever. They have we're very comfortable. Most of the reviewers are comfortable if it's not going to be oversold in terms of getting word of mouth people there. So 7 movies. Now I'm watching everything on the laptop, and they are giving us, and we're not seeing the blockbusters because the companies are holding back on them. One thing that's happening is I am spending more time with independent and foreign films than I would have spent. I mean, I cover that. Much to your chagrin, a lot.
Yeah.
And nonetheless, I'm getting some good stuff. And then there are movies that are mid-range. They're not going to be blockbusters, and they're just releasing them via streaming rather than putting them in theaters. So, it's kind of skewing my attention to more, I would say, smaller movies. And that's not a bad thing necessarily. But I miss the chance to see these other things and be able to wax on, positive or negative on something that everybody wants to find out about.
Well, you're probably going to have to get yourself a big screen at home, and just get the theatrical experience going for you at home.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, that seems to be like a possibility.
Because that's pretty much what I have here.
Well, of course, you've been living in your own home theater for a while, which is something that you aspire to, for the very reasons that you elucidated earlier. It's an expensive and oftentimes wasteful experience.
But what we're seeing, let me just say this, and it's probably the best place to end this, is that I see the movie theater as a thing of the past. I see that in 10 years we're going to remember it as a relic, and there's going to be a whole generation of kids growing up who never went to a movie theater.
They will be getting their movies injected by then.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. I don't think we're ever going back to the way it was. And I think because of their lack of showmanship, their expensive prices and everything else, they deserve it.
Well, I'll miss the shared experiences.
I will too. Ever since I was a kid, let's run over here. Ever since I was a kid, I went to the movie theaters on Saturday with all the other kids, and we watched a serial, and we watched a cartoon, and then we watched a main feature, which was usually a Western. that the shared experience in a theater was something that was ingrained in me from birth. All right, so to see it go is a tragedy for me. But the reason it's going is, number one, a pandemic. Number two, it's the movie business itself. The way in which the distribution is done, the way in which the showmanship is. There's no showmanship anymore. They don't care if what's up on the screen doesn't even look good and is dim. And they're charging you for that, you know. So they deserve what they get.
This is a good point, because my colleagues and I will go to a screening. You know, my buddy Alan, he will go to screenings in San Francisco because I'm there part of the time. And, you know, we always know if it's going to be held, if it's a theatrical presentation as opposed to a screening room, we know that if it's at a certain theater, it's going to be poorly projected, and it happens.
Well, I tell the classic story about the time that I went to see a movie, and I love my 3D, and I went in, and the movie started, and it wasn't in 3D. Everybody had their glasses on, thinking it was in 3D, but it wasn't. And I went to the manager, and he came up and looked and went, yeah, I guess we're projecting the straight version of it. He said, well, we can't do anything about that. You want your money back? I said, you want to give me my cab fare? Do you want to pay for my popcorn? Do you know, all the other ancillary things? So that's what I'm talking about. Showmanship. Okay? Well, and they don't care about showmanship because the guy running the theater used to be a plumber.
You would think, you know, and then they have automatic circumstances in some theaters too, where they just trigger something and there you go, particularly with digital presentations. Look, you know, you would think that if you're going to have reviewers seeing something, that you're going to give them the absolute blue ribbon presentation. And frequently at those theaters, particularly, like I said, a handful of them in San Francisco, a couple, it's been hit or miss. And it even happens in Los Angeles, too, the home of the movie industry. So there you have it.
Yeah.
You're right. We'll see.
Hey, listen, we've run out of time, but I want to do this again soon, because there's a lot to talk about and a lot to cover. And in a pandemic like this, how we get our entertainment is very, very important. So thank you, Michael. Talk to you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Michael Snyder, by the way. You can hear him on every so often, because during the pandemic we haven't done it every week, when he runs movie reviews here on Gabnet. Thank you, Michael.
And you can check me out on Twitter at Culture Blaster.
Okay, and you can okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, Michael. Appreciate it.
Now in our 6th year, this is Gabnet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hope you found that interesting. I asked him last week if he'd sit down with us and do that, and we'll probably have another discussion about it sometime soon, because it really is very much what's happening today, and the way in which I think the movie business has been just completely slaughtered by all of this, and where it's going to wind up and how it's going to manifest itself and so on. Since we talked, Disney has said that they are going to take Mulan, which was mentioned in that discussion, and Mulan is going to be shown on Disney Plus, but if you got Disney Plus, you're going, oh, I get to see Mulan then. No. You're going to have to pay $29 on Disney Plus to see it. It's going to be what they call a special release, which pisses me off because I subscribe to Disney Plus, and I think if you're going to do something like that, do it somewhere else. You know, put it on pay systems and things like that. Don't screw up Disney Plus and say, well, you know, you get everything on Disney Plus for, you know, $5.95 a month. Oh, that's great, but you don't get Mulan. Fuck you. Anyway, let me see here. I have some people to admit to our program here, and let's see here if they're. Let me go here to. There we go, and here they are. Hello, everybody. Hello, Howard in Hawaii, and hello, Charlie in Texas.
Hey.
Yeah, and hello, me. Yeah. Anyway, let me see here. We only have the two of you right now, and Howard doesn't have his mic on, so you know.
Oh, I just got to stick my finger on it.
You got to stick your finger on it? That sounds positively obscene, Howard.
I used hand sanitizer.
Yeah? Okay. Good. Cool. Oh, man. I'm trying to. Today, I don't know. Some days I'm great, and other days I feel tired. And today's one of those days I feel tired. But if we can get a decent citizen panel going here, I suppose we can
Up.
get my energy up. But so far, it's just you two guys.
Wow.
How's everything in Texas there, Charlie?
Well, no, we're still here.
Want me to make you jealous about something?
Sure.
The last 3 days, we have not had a single death in New York City.
Wow.
Not a single death in New York City.
Wow.
And something like yesterday, it was like 3 deaths in New York State. So, but 3 days in a row without a death in New York City from COVID.
Oh,
That's,
good job.
yeah, good job. Yeah. How's it doing in Texas?
It slowed down a little bit. We only had 9,000 cases today and 245 deaths. So.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Oh, okay. And our president says things are getting better in those states.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how do you judge that? Here, let's see here. Okay, here we go. Rob Alfano, and then it says Perky Pat. Now, who is Perky Pat going to be?
Larkin.
Hi, John.
I bet it was. I bet it's John Larkin. Of course,
Yep.
it's John Larkin. Yeah. And then
Aloha, brothers.
Perky Pat.
Hi, John.
I bet it was. I bet it's John Larkin. Of
So
course,
Mr.
it's John. Turn down your. Whatever that is we're doing there. The show. Okay.
Hey,
Yeah.
Alex,
Yes.
I heard Amazon is going to buy AMC.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
because they can afford it. They can take a loss on the theaters. They
Yeah.
just take the movies and put them in the theaters.
Yeah. Well, I guess, but they were going to buy which one?
AMC,
AMC.
they're bankrupt.
I just don't. Yeah, I guess you can buy them for a song.
Yeah,
Doesn't sound like a good
the
investment.
movie the movie theater business has been really hard for the last 20 years because they don't make any money on those movies. They have to pay so much to get those movies in there. The only way they make any money is by selling popcorn.
Oh no,
the
no.
concession stands.
Here's how it works. Here's how it works. They do make money off those movies, but only if they're there for a couple of weeks. The first week they don't make a penny.
Oh yeah.
All the money, all the receipts go to the movie company. Second week, it's like, I don't know, 2% or something like that. And it keeps getting larger as it stays in the theater. So the reason you pay so much for popcorn is that is the way they make their money.
Yeah.
My friend's fiance worked for the concession stands in South San Francisco, and they make so much bank.
They do make so much bank?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on. You got a box of popcorn. Costs you $15, okay?
Yeah.
The box costs more, right, than the popcorn itself. So you go figure.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've always been a sucker for that. By the way, here's the thing that always bothered me. Try bringing in your own popcorn.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. They won't allow that, right? You leave your popcorn out. You know what I mean? So I can eat that stuff with Pennzoil? That glutinous stuff that's on there? Are you out of your mind? So that kind of.
All those trans fats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yummy.
Yeah.
Well, it is what it is.
Yeah. Gee, where's Robert tonight? Robert wasn't with us yesterday either when we did our 4:00 show, and he usually calls that. I don't know what happened to him. Well,
Maybe he's hanging out with Phil.
maybe he's hanging
Maybe
out
Phil
with
took
Phil.
him out.
Yeah, we don't see Phil anywhere here now. So
So you're doing that 4 o'clock on Mondays every week now, huh?
Yeah, I've been doing it every week. It's a nice little show, you know. It's a friendly bunch of people, not yelling at each other. Some people think it's a better show than this one. I don't know. But this is a different animal. At least when certain people get involved in it, you know. So.
Like you and Sheck. You and Sheck.
What'd you say? You were there yesterday, Brian. Yeah.
Yeah, you and Shecky are on there, so it's pretty cool to hear the stories back and forth, you know? So, I mean, I loved Letterman. I used to record Letterman and Carson, and then I would watch them on the next day.
Yeah.
And so I loved all that humor, all that really quick humor. Like you guys said, that sort of went over and over and over, but the top 10 and all his little stupid stuff was so funny.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is that, Shecky worked for him for the whole time that he was at NBC, except for the first month or so, 2 months or so. And then after that, here comes Phil. After that, he went with him to CBS and stayed with him through the entire CBS thing. I think in the end, Shecky was the third longest person on the staff at the very end. So he knows where a lot of the bodies are buried. And, yesterday he told a couple of stories, and then later on he wrote me and said, I didn't realize this was actually going to be on later as well. It goes up on Facebook and then it stays there.
Oh.
And he said, but I don't care.
All 20 people watching it.
Yeah, all 20 people. Well, no, actually, that show gets more people watching it than this one. That one, when I'm through, gets at least a couple of hundred people watching it.
Really? Maybe the timing or something.
Yeah, and then by the end of the week, it's got like 500-600 people that watch it, as opposed to any one of these shows. So, it's made me rethink a few things. One of the things is the amount of people that watch it on Facebook as opposed to YouTube. I mean, that's kind of strange, And it's kind of made me rethink this whole thing. When we started this with the Citizen Panel, the whole concept was rather original, right? And to pull it off, what it was is I said, how are we going to get phone callers? And as Rob knows, if you wanted to get phone callers in those days, you had to phone up the phone company, and they put in 4 lines, right? Right, Rob? And
Yep, that's right.
Cost you a goddamn fortune. So I said, well, wait a minute, they got this thing called Skype. What if I use Skype? And then I went, well, Skype, I can have more than one person on at a time. So that's how I came up with the Citizen Panel. It just seemed like a natural kind of thing. And it was different to have a bunch of people calling a talk show and all discussing it with each other than one person talking to the host and yelling at each other and then going to the next caller and talking to each other and having it be one-on-one. So it was a rather original idea. But now with Zoom, everybody's doing it. And so I wonder if I have any relevancy in the current new normal. So I wonder about it.
You were the innovator again.
I was the innovator.
Phil, what do you think?
What do I think about what?
I guess Phil is too many days into his hormones.
No, I don't feel good.
Really?
Yeah. I just figured I'd come on, but
what? How don't you feel good?
I really overdid it on Sunday shooting, and I've been sleeping all I can do, and my left hand is killing me. It feels like I got arthritis in a couple of my fingers.
And you got that from shooting the gun?
I can't have,
What do you mean? What do you mean you can't have?
Well, it was an intense day of training, but I only shot 45 rounds of 12 gauge slugs, which, but it was hot out. It was 100 degrees. I was, I'm tired. Maybe it's the radiation catching up with me.
Or the female hormones.
Yeah. Or, hey, that they gave me, 3 months ago. So, there hasn't been There hasn't been much of a change, although I did buy a purse.
Yeah.
It's called a man bag.
Carrying your guns in your purse now.
No,
right?
it's a man bag. I decided that I needed to test the diabetes stuff more often, so I needed something to carry it in, and so I put the wallet in there.
That's the excuse, Phil.
Yeah, the wallet.
That's
the
the
keys,
excuse. I needed a wall. I needed a
Lipstick.
Yeah, lipstick.
Yeah,
Where'd
So
I-
why is it pink though?
Yeah, this way I'm not putting it in my back pocket, and I think it's better for you.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it leopard skin?
No, it's called it's a brand called Nutsack, but
Oh, really?
That'll
Yeah.
go good with the rock kilt.
but
I got your nutsack right here.
yeah, but you have a choice on the logo just to get the acorn or the word nutsack under the acorn. I chose just the acorn.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You didn't want the word nutsack on your man purse?
And no, I did not. But
Oh.
it's fairly masculine. I had a man purse back in the 70s. It was the most convenient thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And my
Fanny
apartment
pack?
Hmm?
A fanny pack?
Well, I had a fanny pack, but it was to carry a 38 caliber Smith
Oh,
and Wesson.
Jesus Christ.
It was specially set up, but the 80s are over.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Here comes Brian Ludwig. Hold on a second. Here we go.
Brian's back.
Huh? Yeah, Brian's back. Hello, Brian. What is that you're wearing on your head? We can't see it because you've got that lamp in back of you, and it's causing the light to kind of diminish.
Let's see if this helps.
Well,
That's probably not going to.
yeah. Well, what is that? What is that hat? Oh, there we go.
Just, excuse me. I bought two of these at a CVS. They're wrap-around face masks, but I also found they make for great ways to keep the hair out of your eyes.
What do you mean they're wrap-around face masks? I don't get that. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
it's
show you.
beginner.
That's
like
the
that.
best kind of face mask. They're more comfortable.
Are they
Yeah.
really? Well, you get better breathing out of them?
I think so.
Oh.
I have a couple of cloth ones, and they're much better.
I got.
I also bought two like summer caliber cloth breathable black balaclavas from Amazon. They basically do the same thing, only they're interconnected.
Yeah, I got Marjorie one, and it was so stifling on her that on a hot day it just became sopping wet. And I have one kind of similar to it, but it has breathing holes, and it seems to not have the same problem,
So,
But-
Alex, I was just saying, channeling my inner Phil here with a bad joke here. Could one of those face masks I bought from Amazon, you could wear one and commit a crime.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I
how-
mean, that
Wonderful.
now I think all the people who are going to rob people don't wear masks. I think that's what they do. It's a whole new. This is the new normal. Here we're sitting around. What kind of mask do you use? Well, I got this one that was gingham, and it had a kind of funny face on it. Yes, Charlie.
Zim in the chat room says that Brian's mask looks like a do-rag.
Well, it looks
It
like a
does.
do-rag when you're wearing it like that, but then when you put it down across the front of you, you look like you're really robbing a bank. You look something like out of a one of those movies about robbing banks. So, what the hell? But anyway, it's kind of a quiet night tonight. I don't know where Robert is. I don't know where some of the other people are. But the other night, I'm just spoiled because we had 15
We had a
people the other
bunch,
night.
yeah.
Was it 15 we had? Yeah.
I think it's 15, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really spoiled by that. So if I get anything less, I think I'm a failure. But as I'm saying, the whole idea of the citizen panel has been upstaged by the fact that everybody's Zooming now. Everybody's doing citizen panels. And even the shows that are doing callers and things like that are doing what we're doing now.
I guess much like Howard Stern's talk show format, this too has been adopted without due credit, huh?
Yeah, they stole
we
it from
gotta-
you.
Yeah.
We got to get
Well,
some celebrity guests.
yeah.
Bill, can you get Trump?
What?
We need some celebrity guests. I was wondering if Phil could get Trump.
Yeah, get Trump. Yeah. Did you see him on Axios, by the way?
Oh God.
I felt. Did you feel sorry for that interviewer? I mean, he couldn't get a straight answer out of Trump, and Trump, when he'd ask a question, would start. What's the word I'm looking for? He would just talk on and on with a run-on sentence, trying to run out the clock. As it
Look
Look
were.
at the charts. Look at the charts.
Yeah, look at the
Look at the
chart.
charts.
But trying to run out the clock, and this guy couldn't. He would start asking a question, and then Trump would just interrupt with his answer before the guy could even finish with the question.
Is this the one that was on HBO?
And after it was over, as somebody who does interviews, I just felt so bad for the guy. I mean, he did a great job.
Yeah,
He tried his best, but it was pretty terrible.
I think he stood up to him a little bit, though. I mean, he wasn't just letting them blow over these details. He went back and forth at him, saying, "Well, why are you looking at cases per, or deaths per case? I'm looking at deaths per population." And then he didn't really have an answer for that. He said, "Oh yeah, but look at this chart." Look
Yeah,
at
then
this
he
one.
had these pieces of paper. Look at these pieces of paper. He didn't even know how to read them.
I know.
He didn't know what they contained, and it was, but it was just I would not want to interview Trump. It would just be too frustrating,
So his answers were queerer than my sex life, huh?
Huh?
I said, so his answers were queerer than my sex life. Huh?
Yes. But
No surprise.
I just was amazed by it. And then he got him on a couple of things. He got him to go after John Lewis, which was not a good idea. If you're trying to get the black vote in this country, I don't think you go after John Lewis. It's not a good idea. But I didn't like John Lewis because he didn't show up to my State of the Union or my inauguration.
Yeah.
Is it all about him?
All about Trump.
Yeah.
That's
And he says he's done more for the black people than almost everybody, maybe Abraham Lincoln.
Now,
What
Phil,
about the civil rights? Oh my God.
Phil, I want to prove to you something here, that Trump is stupid. He's a moron, basically. Yesterday,
He's good at one. He's good at one thing. He's good at one thing.
What?
Advertising his divisiveness and projecting it on other people.
Yeah, but he yesterday mentioned a California national park.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, he did. Oh,
Where is Yosemite?
Oh, no.
Yes.
Like 2 or 3 times.
No.
Yosemite?
Where is?
Yosemite. He said Yosemite.
It was a Yosemite.
Yosemite.
Yeah.
Because it sounded like Cuomo was saying his Jewish friends or something. He said, yeah.
Yosemite.
How did that come up?
Yosemite.
It's a Jewish rap.
I don't know. He was mentioning things, and I can't remember what. And he in this dialogue said the Yosemite.
Yosemite.
Now
Yosemite,
you
yeah.
don't live in California, do you, Rob?
my Semite, your
You
Semite.
don't live in California, Charlie.
We visit.
Well, Brian does.
Tony.
Tony doesn't. But it's Yosemite, don't you?
Yosemite. I see the Yogi Bear. Yosemite.
Yosemite.
You said it
Yosemite
2
Sam,
times.
right?
Yogi and Boo Boo.
What?
I remember.
Yosemite.
I know. I can remember when everybody used to call it Yosemite just for kidding around, though. You going to Yosemite? But
Oh yeah,
just
I
like-
mean yeah.
But he said he called it
Yosemite.
he called it Yosemite. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yosemite.
Yosemite, yes.
Yosemite. That was it. Yosemite.
It's the
Yosemite.
California version of Vegemite.
yeah.
Is there any question that he
The
didn't
brother
take the
version.
SAT?
Yosemite.
Is there any question he did not take the SAT? There is no question.
There's no question is right.
Absolutely. The only thing he would get right is signing his name for 200 points. That's it.
He does a good job of it. He's
Yeah.
got a pretty neat looking signature.
Well, he
He's
makes
working
On that. That's
Actually,
what
I
he did. You know how girls in school write their boyfriend's name, their first, and they
Well, I
practice
want to
it?
know what
No,
the
no, that's what
difference is.
Trump did.
Penmanship counts.
I want to know what the difference is between his signature and an EKG.
Signature is certified. You know, certified. There are people that have certified signatures. And
Certified signature for a
Yeah.
certifiable person.
Yeah.
What do you mean a certified
I got the
signature,
truth.
Phil? I never heard of
Like
that.
a bank VP or manager has a certified signature. Troop signature is certified too. You know,
What's
it's like
important.
a registered signature.
Well, but
Yeah.
what happens when you get older? Because I know that as I've gotten older, I've gone from spelling my name to
Yeah.
scratch,
Scribbling.
as just a
I do too.
absolute scratch.
Because they don't care what it looks like on the credit card slip.
No, but I mean, I has as time has gone on. I mean, I've got a rather unwieldy name, and I can do kind of Bennett, okay. But then when I get to the Schwarzman, by the time I get to the past the Z, it just becomes a line, you know.
The older you get, the shorter your time is. You don't want to spend that much time writing the rest of the name.
Well, I think part of it is how often do you write your name these days?
Yeah.
Not much,
You
yeah.
know, in the old
Credit
days,
cards, credit cards, and
Not really. Everything's touchless.
No.
Everything's digital signature.
Yeah, it's got
yeah,
the
I use my Apple Wallet, and I don't.
I'm shocked when they
touchless.
ask me to sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that DocuSign thing.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about getting that for clients. So that when you send them something, they don't have to fax it back to you or email it back to you.
Yeah, that's
It
how I
works great.
used it when I bought the house. The last two houses, all DocuSign.
What's
Yeah,
what's
Howard
doc? Well, what's DocuSign?
That's all it do. Oh,
You know, you go through all these contracts and everything, closing and everything you do, the lawyer's stuff and everything, you do it via DocuSign. They send you an email. You click on this link, it opens it up. You get a password, you create an account, and then you can sign documents electronically through DocuSign.
Okay, so you don't have to sign your signature. You just simply
There's a
approve.
signature.
does it for you.
Yeah,
But
You have the option. You can pick a signature for you or make your own.
Yeah.
right.
it's legally binding because you go through a identification
Well, I
process.
found that on some things where I needed to legally bind, but I had to do it online, all I had to do was print my name. And that was
Yeah,
considered
and-
a signature.
You do once with DocuSign, and then you have initials also.
Yeah.
But it takes you from field to field, and all you do is click on it. It's very easy.
Yeah, it's
Really?
great.
I just renewed my lease.
And it's a legal binding signature.
And your customers have those forever. Like I can go back and log into DocuSign and see all my documents all in that one place.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah, you sign up for the service. I don't know what it costs. I haven't signed up for it yet, but I'm
Not that expensive.
I'm thinking that's the way to go.
yeah. But I wonder where Robert is tonight because he wasn't on the Monday show either. So I hope he's okay.
Phil, what did you do with him?
Whenever that happens, I worry about people. When Phil doesn't call, I worry about him.
I
Yeah.
always tell you, but with Robert, I think it was a drive-by shooting. You know, he does live in New Jersey.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Well, Jersey got hit bad, Alex. They might have lost power.
listen, a lot of times I don't know. He could have lost power, but that wasn't yesterday, though. I just in this coronavirus environment, when you don't hear from somebody, you begin to worry, because anything's possible. What is this, Phil, that you're putting your hand up?
10.
10? Do I have 10? No, I don't have 10, do I? Already?
Yeah.
Boy, this is so what is that? Is that a,
Full house.
it's a full house? Okay, so let me go, let me see here. Go to my Zoom panel, go to my full house, do a little transition, and there you go, folks. You got your full house because Patrick joined us. But anyway, so you worry about people because who knows what happens, All of a sudden you can get sick and then you don't hear from them. So every now and then when I don't hear from somebody for a couple of days, even on this panel, I get a hold of them and say, are you okay? We haven't heard from you in a while.
Look at John Rockwell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So I worry about it. So Robert, if you're out there, I'm worrying. I'm worrying about you. Okay, but you want to hear what happened here in New York? 3 days in a row, no deaths in New York. City.
New York City. Oh, state.
New York City. I don't know about the state. I didn't see
They
what.
had two over the Sunday. I know that. I think.
Yeah, there's something like 3, something like that. But for 3 straight days, no deaths in New York City. That's pretty amazing.
Not from COVID, anyway.
Not from COVID. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people got shot, but I mean,
Murders.
We don't count those.
I mean, when you compare that to the 800 a day, it's like night and day. But now we're scared the crap out of us that people are going to come in from out of state. They're going to go, oh, it's safe in New York. Let's go there.
I know my state's on the do
You're on
not
the list?
fly list.
Oh.
Yeah,
Rhode Island just made our list now. Like
to go see my mother, I was told I can't because I have to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, what you could do is go over to your mother's house, stay there, and then
2
leave and go
weeks.
back to Virginia, right?
For 2 weeks?
Well, we don't want you bringing your cooties with you.
Bring
You
the
know.
studio with you.
Hey, listen.
Yeah.
Somehow something's got to happen here to make things better. And it isn't going to happen until people start realizing that the selfishness we engaged in the past, we can't engage in now, And that people are saying in those states like yours, Charlie, that are so terrible, a complete, utter lockdown is the only thing that's going to just nip this thing in the bud. And I wish it weren't that way, but that's the only answer we have right now. We don't have a vaccine.
But now, of course, all the CARES Act stuff ran out. So if we did lock down, people would just go bankrupt.
Yeah, I mean it's a terrible it's a terrible thing all the way around. But I think what I said that the biggest enabler of COVID is capitalism. Is because capitalism is what has gotten us into this situation. Because this whole thing about saying, well, we've got to open up the economy. We can't have the economy not open. Well, wait a minute. I mean, it's that or dead people. Well, we have to open the economy. And I don't know that I want to make that choice, We'll get back to having an economy later, okay? Let's take care of the situation now. Yes, Brian. The other Brian. Yes, Brian.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. Just call me Ludwig, man, just to avoid confusion.
Call you what?
You can do Ludwig, my last name.
Yeah, I can just call you Ludwig. Okay.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Anyhow, one, I agree with you. In fact, I've coined my own phrase. I call it crapitalism. Two, this virus, I think I said it before when I was on your program last week. This virus serves as a ringing endorsement for socialism. And three, my understanding is the Federal Reserve, if I'm not mistaken, they're advocating for another shutdown to prevent an economic crash in their rationale. If I might have that wrong, but I thought I read that in the headlines.
Well, the reason why everybody went back to work again in some of those states was because we don't want the economy to fail, but they didn't realize that by not taking care of the COVID, you caused an even worse problem, and then when you have to close everything down again, you make the economy even worse. I mean, what's happened here in New York State is that we've had a phased reopening. Very slow, very methodical, based on the science and upon the numbers, okay? And the governor even said, we fully expected, and I was told by the best minds, that when we finally lessen up and go into phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, you can expect the figures to tick upward. He said, we didn't expect to happen what's happening now. The amount of people in hospitals is at its all-time low. Intubations is at an all-time low. I mean, all these things they didn't think would happen are happening. Marjorie and I, we went out for our first restaurant the other night for the first time in 6 months. Yeah. And we were sitting out, it was outside, and it was, the tables were separate from each other and so on. There's no indoor dining allowed, and it worked. It worked out pretty well. I don't have COVID yet. And I feel.
What did you have for dinner?
COVID. No. What did we have for dinner? I had a steak, I think.
Nice.
My usual, but it was a local restaurant that we really love, and we want to support them because we want them to stay open. And we asked them how it's going, and it turns out, he says, we're doing okay because we started delivering food to various places that need food and need food service. So we were able to keep alive doing that as a business. He said, now that we're open, so many restaurants have closed down in New York. He said, I have a world famous chef working my kitchen now. Somebody who didn't have a gig anymore because their restaurant, which is one of the biggest restaurants and best restaurants, a 3 Michelin star restaurant, had to close down. So he said, I got them, and I got a pastry chef from another place. He said, so actually, the COVID thing has been okay for us. We've survived it nicely. And you go down the street, and all these restaurants have they're eating outside, and also they have places for you to eat that's out in the parking spot in front of their place. And it's a whole new atmosphere out there. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, we've been providing lunches since day one of everything going crazy. So we've had a couple restaurants that we've kept going also with a couple other businesses around us. But we're still, I think, until the end of this month now. They keep extending it every month. Mm-hmm. But I know we've helped them out a lot by taking care of our people. And now our people don't have to go out, especially people who go out for lunch. So
yeah. So, but it's we're hoping that it's going to be okay, and that and a lot of these businesses are surviving. We didn't count too many of them going out of business. I think one was turned into a UPS store, but that was about it, and it may have been something else before. Patrick, are restaurants closing down a lot in your area? Are they surviving, or what's happening?
About 50-50.
Yeah, because Wisconsin's had a tick upward, right? No? I thought...
No, I mean, there have been more cases, but there haven't been any more hospitalizations of any significance.
Yeah.
Right now we have right around 300 people in the hospital,
mm-hmm.
and of those, maybe 70 in the ICU.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and that's statewide. That's not just in my city. So there's really nothing going on here. We have a mandatory mask order statewide, which is horse shit, but that's what you get when you have an a fucking governor. So,
Well, when you say you had something like 350 people hospitalized in your state, in our entire state now, it's down to something like 550, maybe less than that, 525. So, and this is in New York State. You got talking about a population of 18 million, I think. So, but it's been it's okay. It's okay. But I admit that Wisconsin, I wonder if, is Wisconsin, anybody knows Wisconsin on our do not fly list? Here in New York. Boy, Phil looks out of it tonight. You really are.
Yeah, you're feeling bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just listening.
You shouldn't.
If you want me to talk, you'll call me.
You shouldn't go out shooting.
Yeah.
Well, this was good training.
For what? Oh yeah, of course. All those people are rioting in the streets, right? I forgot.
Yeah.
You got to be ready for that.
Want to, go in and shoot up synagogues. That's what it's for.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And
How many shooting up of synagogues have there been lately?
Well, Pittsburgh was a good one.
When was that?
Last year.
Well, last year, but I'm saying recently.
All right.
October
So you mean
2018.
anti-Semitism is going away? Oh, okay. I don't.
Well,
need my-
I always had an attitude about it. Being a Jew, I always had an attitude about anti-Semitism,
It's going on 2 years.
which was, what the fuck are we doing that's pissing everybody off? There must be something we're doing, right?
Yeah.
I
we're,
feel
we're winning Nobel prizes for medicine and science. We're contributing so much to the world that they are really pissed off.
Yeah, well, I have a
You
feeling,
killed the
Phil.
Lord and Savior.
I've
Still
had
being punished.
I've had a theory, Phil, that if Hitler had met you before all the other Jews, he would have been satisfied and not done any of the other stuff.
They're never satisfied because if he met me, he'd be coming for you next.
Yeah. Yes, Brian Ludwig.
Yes, yeah. Two things. One is that happened actually. It'll be 2 years in October that synagogue shooting occurred here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And the other thing is regarding Hitler. I think I've said this before, months or a few years ago, that he targeted the wrong groups of people. If instead he targeted and decided to put in concentration camps people like yuppies and douchebags and arrogant assholes and valley girls and like that, not only would I have given him my full undivided support, I would have also gone to Lowe's and Home Depot and bought him the building materials to build said concentration camps with, because I would be fully on board with that kind of persecution.
Oh, okay. Well, I think the line I was looking for was that if Hitler had met Phil, he would have been happy and stopped there. That was mine.
I just think he targeted the wrong groups of people.
Well, mass extinction is not my idea of anything right under any circumstances, even if they're conservatives and not really conservatives, but white power people, Yeah. Let's see here. I guess, Rob, in your area, it's nothing much to speak of, although has there been an uptick where you are?
Not in that's the thing, right? They generalize. Virginia's a big state.
Yeah.
And, there are counties where it's going up like crazy. My whole county has only had, since the beginning, 600 people.
Okay. All right. Now,
And here in this town, I think we've got 70 or something in the entire city of, and that's total. That's not now.
Yeah.
So it's
So
not,
what are your all opinions on the schools? I don't know if you guys ever talked about that.
Well, we talked about the school thing, but, the only person here, I think, who has a kid, well, there are two people that have kids. Kevin, who is down at the bottom there, and is sporting a red face today, which means he was out in the sun again.
Mm.
Were you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. And Brian. And so the rest of us are not, that concerned about it, although I'm concerned about it from the standpoint that if we want to get this thing over and done with, I don't know that opening up the schools is a particularly good idea.
Yeah. I'm with you on that.
We picked up materials today, so they're doing everything from home. So Mondays they go on each class, they check in, and then Tuesday and Thursday is 3 classes, and then the other 3 are Wednesday and Friday. So they're going to do that at least through till January. So
Now, what happens to kids and families who don't have internet access? I mean, I was surprised to hear this, but there is a huge portion of this country that does not have internet access.
Yeah, I know they have. They have a technology. So right when we pulled up, they had a survey like a month ago if you need computers. I don't know how they're doing like internet, but the computer laptops. Then when we went there to get them today, you either go one way to get a laptop or you go straight to go get their schedules. And they took pictures today also, because they don't know if they're coming back. So they did the yearbook pictures today. So
wow,
we have a big issue with rural areas out here.
Really?
Yeah, but then I saw on Facebook, they had a place in Georgia where they showed day 1 of class, and they showed the hallway packed, and you see, 4 or 5 kids with masks, and then the other kids, nobody has masks.
Well, I'm trying to remember. They had this thing on CBS Sunday Morning this week about the internet and how many people have the internet, and I can't remember the figure now. but it was some amazing amount of people do not have I'm not talking about low internet access. I'm not talking about dial-up. They're not even up to the level of bubbles. They just don't have internet access. So many times, those are homes that are in rural areas that they just don't ever get it there. You know.
So what if they're low income housing too, where the kids need the education more too?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the sad part. And then you have these kids that are just going to get pushed down and down further.
So what they're doing here.
Turn your mic up a little bit, will you? Because you're
not hearing me okay?
I'm not hearing you okay. Your level's a little on the low side.
Okay. Well, I'll talk a little closer. Let me switch mics here.
I think he switched.
But what they're doing here is they're putting hotspots on buses and taking the buses out to those areas and parking the buses in the areas for 8 hours at a time, and then the parents or whatever taking them down to the parking lots and letting them hook up that way.
Yeah.
That's one way.
Terrible.
And that's
the Chromebooks and that sort of thing.
Yeah, there was a company that was. Are you there, Bree? By the way, Bree. I don't know what the way.
Yeah.
We
I am here.
Oh, you are there. Okay, we don't have a picture on you. Was the reason that I was. There we go. Okay, now I can go. Jackpot. What is that?
4G.
What is the picture?
Those are the kids they have some place in Georgia. They're showing. You can see a couple kids with masks.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Boy.
They don't think they're gonna get it.
You don't have kids, do you, Bree? You do.
I do.
Yeah. Would you send your kid to
right
school right now?
She's in school right now.
She goes physically to school?
Twice a week, yes.
How do you feel about that?
Fine.
Really?
Yep.
You don't feel apprehensive about her being...
No.
They have masks on it in the classes and everything?
They do. They have social distancing.
Uh-huh.
She wears a mask, and they have to do temperature checks three times, and it's very... Not everybody goes, so it's like 30% at a time or something. So I think it's fine, and not that. And also, we live right next to the medical center, and I think I got good coverage, so we'll be okay.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that for instance, we're not as worried about the kids dying of this. They could get the flu, they could come down with it, but it's that the parents and the grandparents and the people who live in the house might come down with this, and that's what we're worried about.
Yeah, and the right-wingers never bring that up. They always say, oh, the kids never die from it. They will never die from it.
Yeah,
but they'll spread it to people that will die.
Well, that's the thing.
Their immune systems are beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful strong.
Yeah.
Beautiful spreaders, you stupid fucks.
Well, no, I mean, the fact is they probably are far more resistant to, not resistant to the virus, but a lot less able to get it badly. But that doesn't mean that because they have it, they can't spread it to somebody else. And if you have an older person in the house, they could die as a result of it.
Yeah, I think the bigger problem I have is the 14, one going in 9th grade in high school, no problem. One in 7th grade in junior high right across the street. But the 4-year-old is advanced right now. She's going into pre-K, pre-kindergarten, which she should really be in kindergarten. I work with her, and she works the words and sight words and all this stuff way ahead of her age. The problem is, how do you get online with a kindergarten class? I mean, so I don't know what's going to happen. They're supposed to come out with the schedule and how that's going to go at the elementary school. But now I'm going to have a serious issue because I got 2 kids in the other room signing on for classes all through the day. Now they're going to have to maybe worry about her, or I need to change my hours so I can make sure she's taken care of.
Well, I mean, what was that you're showing us? Oh, is that?
I have a friend who has a kid in 2nd grade. That's what it looks like. She's in class right now. That's in the Philippines.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know what's happening there exactly. I mean, I read different things, but here it's strange. All in Southeast Asia, a lot of businesses are going out of business, like cool businesses that were kind of unique and creative. And it seems like only the big ones are, able to sort of survive this. I went to, and it depends on, which mall you're in, but it just seems like it's a slow burn, and it's uneven. And and I think that this is going to be with us forever. I think it's going to be kind of like a deadly flu, and next season. So New York went through a big time there in what, June and July, or was it May and June? So I think next year it's going to hit again, and it's going to be the same, because you can't develop immunity to it, and it'll be like the flu. I think and eventually everybody will have to get it. And either you survive it or you don't. It's like a plague of sorts that comes around. And some people will be able to get a vaccine maybe next year that sort of helps them. But it's like the flu. It'll be annual.
Well,
when it was coming down. Sorry, we remember when it was coming down. Those were all the hot news items. Oh, well, it's coming down now. What's going to happen back in the flu season again? They're all worried about it. And now instead of coming down, now actually we've been going up.
Well, we're going to keep reinfecting ourselves until we finally just say, I think we cut the disease here in New York by very simply, staying in and wearing masks if we went out, and washing our hands. And I was wearing gloves for a while. I mean, this was a very, very, everybody was really very good about this here. And we didn't even have a plateau. We went up and then we started coming down. Yes, Howard put his hand up there.
Hey, guess what?
What?
We peaked out today. We got 200 cases in Hawaii statewide.
Wow. Well, you're in a very lucky situation, or unlucky, as it were, in that you're on an island, you're on a series of islands, you are remote from the mainland, and you can kind of, if you don't let people in, you can keep it out. Okay? It's much like you do with animals, so that you don't get rabies on the island, things like that. But
the point is we were getting 2 or 5 cases a day. Now we're up to 200 a day.
Oh, okay.
So we were only getting 2, 5.
Well, now you see,
a week ago we were up to about 50. Yesterday, 200.
That's not good, because you're on an island,
right?
And it has no place to go except spread.
What
so far
percentage
as Oahu, not my island,
percentage
but still.
Yeah. What?
Tourism.
Who? Oh, yeah. What were you saying?
Tourism for Hawaii, Howard. If you don't have all those tourist money coming in, what percentage is your economy reliant on those? Because when I think of Hawaii, I just think it's all tourism. It's tourism dollars.
And we haven't been letting anybody in since March.
Really?
So slowly they're letting people come back. If you do come, you have to quarantine for 14 days. There's a few locals that have been breaking quarantine, and then they went out and spread, and that's where we got this big peak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pretty, but you could have a real problem there if it ever expands.
Well, wait and see. I'm telling you, before I was bragging how we had nothing. 200 today. What do you think next week's going to be like on Oahu?
Well, let's wait and see. But how about the other islands? How about places like Kauai and so on?
Not much. Like Maui, we may have had 20 cases.
Okay. All right.
Of the 200.
Well, they're going to be unless people go back and forth between the various islands, they're going to be pretty well restricted to those islands.
We are allowing inter-island travel.
Oh boy.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Howard, how's the death rate? I mean, is it low of the cases?
Extremely low. We've only had 26 deaths since COVID started.
And probably how many cases, if you had to guess?
Total cases since COVID started, 2,568.
So you had how many deaths?
26.
Yeah. See, you should compare that to the population of other places and see what percentage. It's all, it's all percentages in many ways, deaths per 100,000, as it were.
You know what I think is going to happen, Alex? I'm going to be an optimist. I think after the election, it's going to be like the hostage crisis. After November 3rd, they're going to announce something in December that they have something.
They
They're
have
going
a vaccine.
Yep. Or some,
Well, they're expecting a vaccine by December or January.
Yeah, my brother's was in the hospital, and they told him they expect the vaccine by sometime in November.
Did they
Well,
give
Russia already has a vaccine today, don't they?
Who?
I heard Russia already has the vaccine.
Yeah, but that's Russia.
Rob, did they give your brother any meds, like remdesivir or hydrochloroquine or any?
Well,
of
he
that?
didn't have
COVID.
He doesn't have COVID. No. How is he doing, by the way, Rob?
He went home today.
Yeah, he had a stroke, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. How bad?
Mild.
Mild. Okay, so it didn't have much effect.
It was more about AFib that caused it, a heart problem.
Okay, all right, but no, he didn't have COVID, Phil.
No.
I think they want Trump out of office, everybody. I think they've had enough of him, I think.
Well, it's getting a look. It's not getting a look. It's not getting a look good for him. You know. But the question is still, is he going to leave? And
that was a Biden.
No. There are a lot of other people questioning this, Phil.
Yeah,
Better
well,
people than you or I.
Biden was one of the first.
He might leave, but he will always question it every day, forever.
Just
So
like
every day Biden gets sworn in, he's going to say illegitimate. We have an illegitimate president. He'll be on every day on the news.
Luckily, he's old.
Yeah, we won't have to put up with it that long. Yes, John.
Here's my prediction: he gets wiped out in the election. He doesn't even challenge it, and then he gets prosecuted in that New York thing, the New York DA, for the fraud and all that stuff, and he runs off to fucking Russia where they can't indict him. Lives the rest of his life in Russia.
That'd be fine.
Or he could make a deal with Biden. He could say, "I won't criticize you. I'll keep quiet. You just issue a pardon, like Ford to Nixon."
Yeah.
I could see Biden.
Patrick, did you have your hand?
The liberal fuck saying that he is, absolutely.
Hold on a second, Patrick. Did you have your hand up?
No.
Because you've had it out there, and I was just wondering if it was you wanted to say something. You can pretty well. Most people can pretty well jump in now because I think you can pretty much hear each other. This isn't like Skype where it just buries you down and you can't hear anybody else.
There are times when I think about Trump and I think there are aspects that I will miss because, for example, I mean, essentially what we're going back to is the same old, and I know that it's better than chaos, but if we had a competent Trump, like somebody, like if he actually tried to bridge gaps and he tried to do the job,
yeah,
I would really like that candidate, because I just feel with Biden that we're selling out. Like we're going back to a system that didn't work for everyone, but everybody sort of agreed that it should or
but
would.
Is it the president? Is it the president where things weren't working, or is it in Congress, in the Senate and in Congress where nothing's getting done? We've had presidents who try to do things and everything is stonewalled, right? The Republicans wouldn't let Obama get things done. Is it the president or is it the lawmakers?
Yes, BL.
Something.
No, Brian Ludwig. I meant not Perky Pat. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not as optimistic as Bree is. What we are, if Biden gets elected, we're basically electing the same type of politician that got us Trump to begin with. And two, assuming let's say Biden or his VP lasts for 8 years. And I'm not convinced that, assuming, of course, that our country isn't off the cliff by that time, financially speaking, and with this pandemic, someone far worse, with the charisma of Obama and Reagan, but with policies that are like twice as bad as Trump's, gets elected in Biden's place.
Well, yeah, but here are the couple of
There's
things.
a reason why Trump got elected.
Yeah, well,
Yes,
but
people
I'm
are very
I'm,
upset.
Yeah, let me put it this way: I'm not a Biden fan. Okay, I'm not a Biden's supporter, but I think the vote this time is going to be those who are voting for Trump and against him, and not against Trump and for Biden. Biden is the placekeeper for the time being until we can come up with something better.
I can
Okay.
name drop one person, Tom Cotton. What about someone like him? If he runs against Biden in 2024 or runs again in 2028?
I think your big
Tom Cotton's worse than
if he
Trump.
wants to, your candidate in 2000 in the next election after this one, who knows if I'll be around, is probably going to be Mario Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo, excuse me. Mario Cuomo's dead.
Mario too.
Mario too. We'll channel Mario. Okay. But
stay on. I mean, Nancy Reagan did it. Why not? Or I'm sorry. Was it Nancy Reagan?
What?
The seance things? Yeah.
Oh, the
that was-
seance. Yeah, she used to hold
The
seance.
system is broken.
Well, the system is look. The system's been broken for years. You know what the problem is? We keep
No, it
voting.
is, you're right.
We keep voting for two people who are supposedly different, but they both represent the same system.
Corporatist
Okay.
warmongers.
Whereas at least in other countries, you have several candidates who represent other systems. There are socialist candidates, there are communist candidates, there are whatever candidates that are proposing a whole different way of doing business. But here we just really have people who are varying shades of gray, and that's the problem. Now there, I think, is a big difference between Trump and Biden, in that Biden is a politician and Trump is, it's all about Trump. He's self-serving, and that's pretty much it, But I don't think that it's.
But here it's whatever Pfizer, Lockheed Martin, and Amazon wants. It's what Pfizer, Lockheed Martin, and Amazon gets.
Well,
Not the people.
yeah,
It's
but
what
I
those
mean,
people
if we would like things to be different, but they're not going to be different until people are willing to vote for third candidates and give them a real chance at winning.
And that probably won't happen, Alex, until this pandemic becomes exponentially worse, or a new pandemic occurs, or something even worse, like Great Depression.
Well, the
2.0.
outgrowth of this pandemic may be more socialism, I think.
Yeah.
I think, because capitalism obviously is the co-conspirator with COVID.
Well, it's like the fuel to the fire. It's not so much a co-conspirator. I guess it would be, but more like kerosene to the fire that is COVID.
I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for. What's the thing when somebody enables? Oh, yeah. Capitalism is an enabler. Okay.
Also a catalyst.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not saying the capitalism wouldn't be fine here if we did it in a rational manner, but we do it to the exclusion of everything else. And when we start talking about people's lives versus the economy, I'm sorry, it's a non-starter for me. I'm voting for lives. Okay. Anyway, hey, listen, everybody's a little tired tonight. I'm tired. Phil's tired. Rob's laid back.
Tired. I slept till 11:30 a.m.
Really? Son of a bitch. Patrick, good to see you again tonight. Let me see. First, let me say goodbye to Howard. Let me say goodbye to Charlie. Let me say goodbye to Rob. Let me say goodbye to John Larkin. Let me say goodbye to, we lost somebody here, didn't we? Kevin. Let me say goodbye to Brian and Phil and Brian and Tony and Patrick and Bree. And, of course, thank you to Kevin as well. What is that?
Double shaka.
AR-15 lower. This is the beginning of my nasty gun.
Oh, he's building his own.
God. We want that. Anyway, everybody give a big wave goodbye, and we'll give you a big wave goodbye as well. Okay? Bye-bye, everybody. Good night. There they go, ladies and gentlemen. That's our citizen panel for tonight. And we'll be assembling another one again tomorrow night, right back here. Next, doing his call-ins on Skype will be Jack Bishop with the intersection. Yes, the intersection. Man, I'm out of it tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow night. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye, everybody.